Hi friends, as always I'm very excited to see you here. If you're meeting for the first time, I'm Shankar Pandey and this is the Dr. USB channel. I host videos on media, communication, research and statistics on this channel. To stay updated with the latest on this channel, I urge you to consider subscribing to the channel. There are two different ways in which information is disseminated. One is the didactic, in which we use the instructional method to disseminate information, and the other is the storytelling or the narrative method. Let's find out narrative engagement theory, how storytelling works in this video. There are three elements of narrative engagement theory: knowledge, modeling, and engagement. Good storytelling has the potential to maximize persuasion and behavior change. Humans are storytelling beings or homo narrans. Individuals engage their social world in a narrative mode. As a result, narratives are a paradigm for understanding human thought and action. The social worlds are comprised of a set of stories from which we choose and constantly recreate our lives. A narrative tells the story of an event or events. Typically, narratives have some form of complication and its final resolution. It generally involves a person, a group, a humanized animal, or even cartoon characters. A discourse exists in a text while a story exists in each audience member's imagination as they read, watch, or listen to the text. According to Miller, Day and Hecht, narrative is talk organized around significant or consequential experiences which characters undertaking some action within context with implicit or explicit beginning and end points significant for the narrator. This definition highlights the active role of characters, intentionality, and the contextual nature of narrative. According to the narrative engagement model, narrative force consists of at least three elements: knowledge, modeling, and engagement. Narratives are themselves a form of knowledge. It is known that cognitive processes play an important role in change. The narrative engagement theory argues that narratives impact the cognitive part of change. There are two ways of conveying information. A didactic piece of information is one that is meant to be instructive. The other is a narrative construct. It enhances one's ability to identify commonalities among experiences. It also enhances one's capacity to link those common patterns with other salient factors to construct holistic mental models. Mental modeling is of three types. Mental model building is one to develop new mental models for those with no pre-existing narrative. Mental model change for those whose narrative runs counter to our goals. And if we believe the audience already holds narratives favorable to our goal, we go for mental model maintenance, in which narrative knowledge confirms existing mental models. Unlike statistical evidence, which may be abstract, narratives are grounded in concrete personal experiences that may be seen as more realistic and may be more difficult to discount or disprove. There is evidence that people tend to generalize from a narrative exemplar even when the narrative is not considered typical. While mental models are people's views of the world and of themselves in it, behavioral modeling involves learning new behaviors by observation. We have seen that in Bandura's social cognitive theory. These new ways of behaving, like mental models, can then be incorporated into an existing repertoire, changing the repertoire, or creating a new one. First-hand experience and personal testimony do not always serve to model efficacious behavior. Narratives can also illustrate what has not worked. Creation of new mental and behavioral models may not be effective without a receiver being engaged with narrative messages that promote pro-social behaviors. The core element of narrative force is the ability to engage an audience. An audience member can be involved in the story emotionally as well. Research has shown mirror neurons in our brains recreate for us the distress we see on the screen. We have empathy for the fictional characters because we literally experience the same feelings for ourselves. Feeling at one with both the characters and the action presented in the narrative can lead to the unity of experience indicated by engagement. Something must be at stake that convinces the audience that a great deal will be lost if the hero or the protagonist does not obtain his goal. The storytelling mind is allergic to uncertainty. Even if the audience does not have direct personal experience with the phenomenon or feel at one with characters, a story may still resonate if an audience member believes the characters or actions in a narrative rings true based on their observation of others. Emotion determines the meaning of everything. Audience members may connect characters and behaviors to larger socially constructed messages they have recalled from other media messages. For example, parties are more fun with alcohol. Narratives have the potential to be both reflective and constitutive of experience, engender engagement, and guide behavior. Narrative engagement consists of 4 elements: interest, realism, identification, and transportation. Also, one must attend to a message for it to have an impact. Audience members will not engage a performance that bores. Attention can vary in intensity, which is another term for interest. Beyond capturing our interest, we are concerned with the degree of connection to a narrative. There are 2 types of involvement: realism or involvement with the plot, and identification or involvement with the characters. Audiences engage with those they perceive to be realistic and believable. Involvement also includes the degree to which audience members feel similar to the characters. Narrative engagement is a process of developing a sense of self through narratives, about making sense of experience, and about expressing these identities through social interaction. Narrative engagement causes social proliferation. Effective narratives will be discussed with peers, family, and others. Proliferation is inherently part of the successful narrative process. Interpersonal communication about the narrative messages may reinforce desirable behavior changes. Narrative engagement is the sensation we sometimes experience of being pulled in to the world of a story and temporarily losing awareness of ourselves and our real-world surroundings. Narrative processes emphasize the degree of identification with the characters, referred as absorption or even transportation. This type of transportation, which is caused by a compelling narrative, leads to a kind of weakening of counter-arguing trends. This also leads to increased cognitive rehearsal of the events in the story and increased recall too. This hence maximizes persuasion and behavior change. In journalism, the term narrative news story refers most broadly to any sort of non-fiction storytelling, but more specifically to a news story that begins with an anecdote rather than a summary lead, and then is organized chronologically rather than either by inverted pyramid style or analytically. Thanks for staying along, friends. As always, it was a delight having you here. I'll be back with another video very soon. Till then, have a great time.